How did my name end up on every news app just after midnight on New Year's Eve? My son told me not to come to the family cottage, said I was too difficult and better off alone. But when he saw what I'd done, live in front of the whole state, he realized too late who he'd pushed aside. The morning of December 30th, I stood in my kitchen holding a cup of coffee that had gone cold 20 minutes ago. Through the window, I could see the red Lamborghini Huracan sitting in my garage like a sleeping beast. 2 weeks of searching, 3 phone calls to dealers in neighboring states, and $47,000 later, I'd finally found the last 2024 limited edition model in the entire tri-state area. The license plate read Logan 27, custom ordered, just like everything else about this gift. I'd been planning this surprise for my son Logan's 27th birthday, which happened to fall on New Year's Eve. 3 decades of running Harlan auto sales had taught me the value of rare things, and this car was the rarest I'd ever purchased. Logan had mentioned it exactly once, 6 months ago, scrolling through his phone at dinner and showing me a video of some celebrity driving one. "Now that's a real car, Dad," he'd said, the first time he'd shown genuine enthusiasm about anything automotive in years. At my dealership that afternoon, I was finishing the paperwork when I overheard voices near the showroom entrance. 2 young men stood arguing with my manager, Marcus Brandt, their voices carrying across the polished floor. "Look, we've called every dealer from here to Chicago," the taller one was saying. His name was Tyler Reed, though I didn't know it yet. He had the kind of carefully disheveled hair that probably took an hour to achieve and wore a Supreme hoodie that cost more than most people's monthly rent. "This is literally the last Huracan in the region. We'll pay cash right now." "I understand your urgency," Marcus replied in his diplomatic tone, "but as I explained, Mr. Harlan purchased this vehicle 2 weeks ago. It's not available." The shorter one, who I later learned was Jackson Morales, pulled out his phone. "Dude, we have 3 million followers across all platforms. One post from us could bring you more business than you've seen all year." I stepped out of my office, curious despite myself. "Gentlemen, is there a problem?" Tyler's eyes lit up when he saw me. "Mr. Harlan? Look, I'm Tyler Reed. Maybe you've heard of me. Tyler Reed Stunts. We do viral content, and we really need this car for our New Year's Eve show. We're talking about a live stream that could hit 10 million views." "What kind of show?" I asked, though something in their eager expressions already told me I wouldn't like the answer. "We're going to torch it," Jackson said with a grin. "Completely legal, all permitted, but man, the footage is going to be insane. People love watching expensive things burn." I felt something cold settle in my stomach. "You want to buy a $47,000 car to destroy it?" "For content, yeah. We'll pay you $60,000 cash, right now. That's 13 grand profit for literally doing nothing." I looked at these 2 young men, probably not much older than Logan, talking about burning money for entertainment. "The car isn't for sale. It's a gift." Tyler's expression shifted, becoming calculating. "Everything's for sale, Mr. Harlan. 70,000. No, 80. Gentlemen, please leave my dealership." As they walked away, Tyler called over his shoulder, "When you change your mind, hit me up at Tyler Reed Stunts on everything." That evening, I drove to Café Nouveau downtown, hoping to catch Logan before he headed up to the cottage. I'd planned to give him a hint about his gift, maybe build some anticipation. Instead, I found him at a corner table with his girlfriend Megan Carter, their heads bent over her laptop. "The optics are terrible, Logan," Megan was saying as I approached. She was 25, worked in social media marketing, and treated every interaction like a brand management exercise. "Your dad still dresses like it's 1995, and he tells those awful stories about the good old days of car sales. Becca's bringing her new boyfriend. He's a tech investor. And your dad will just, you know, embarrass me," Logan finished. He looked up and saw me standing there. For a moment, his face showed something that might have been guilt, but it passed quickly. "Dad, what are you doing here?" "I wanted to talk about tomorrow, the cottage." "Actually, that's perfect timing." Logan closed the laptop and looked at me with the same expression he'd worn when telling me he was changing his major from business to finance. Polite but firm. We need to talk. I sat down uninvited. I'm listening. Megan touched Logan's arm, a gesture of support that somehow felt like a warning to me. Logan took a breath. Dad, I think it's best if you don't come to the cottage this New Year's Eve. The words hit me like a physical blow. What? You've been so difficult lately. The constant criticism of my career choices, the lectures about tradition and respect. It's exhausting. Megan and I have been planning this gathering for weeks, and we want it to be peaceful. Difficult? I repeated. Logan, I stopped myself. The car was supposed to be a surprise. I've been looking forward to this for months. It's tradition. We've spent every New Year's Eve at the cottage since you were 5 years old. Maybe it's time for new traditions, Megan said softly. This is really about creating space for Logan to grow into his own person. Without his father, apparently. Logan's jaw tightened. See? This is exactly what I'm talking about. The guilt trips, the martyrdom. Dad, you turn every conversation into a referendum on my loyalty to you. I sat there for a long moment, watching my son, my only child, look at me like I was an obstacle to be managed. I see. It's just 1 year, Logan said, though he couldn't quite meet my eyes. Maybe we can all reset and try again next time. I stood up slowly. Well, I suppose that's settled then. As I walked away, I heard Megan say, You did the right thing. This will be so much better. That night, I sat in my living room with a glass of bourbon, staring at my phone. At 9:47 p.m., Logan had added me to a group FaceTime call from the cottage. I could see the familiar stone fireplace, the mounted deer head that had been there since I'd bought the place in 1998. The faces of extended family and friends gathered for what had always been our celebration. Dad, Logan called out, his voice artificially cheerful. We wanted you to see everyone. I watched them laugh and toast, watched Logan play host in the home I'd paid for, surrounded by people who seemed perfectly content with my absence. Megan waved at the camera. Hi, Mr. Harlan. Wish you were here? But none of them actually wished that. I could see it in their relaxed postures, their genuine smiles. They were having more fun without me. I ended the call and sat in the silence of my empty house. That's when my phone buzzed with a DM notification. At Tyler Reed Stunts, still want to keep that car? Double your money if you change your mind. Offer expires tomorrow at noon. I stared at the message for a long time. In my garage sat a $47,000 gift for a son who couldn't be bothered to spend New Year's Eve with me. A son who found me difficult, embarrassing, an obstacle to his happiness. I typed back, still interested, let's talk. The next morning, I stood in my garage looking at the Lamborghini. The custom license plate seemed to mock me now. Logan 27. I'd been so proud when I'd ordered it, imagining his face when he saw his name and birth year gleaming on the back of his dream car. Now, it felt like evidence of my own delusion. This wasn't the first time Logan had pushed me aside. It was just the most public. I drove to Marcus's house, a modest ranch in the suburbs where he'd lived for 30 years. Marcus had been my dealership manager since 1999. And more importantly, he'd been my friend since we'd served together in the National Guard. If anyone would understand, it would be him. You look like hell, Paul, he said, opening his front door before I'd even knocked. Feel worse. I followed him into his kitchen where his wife Janet was making coffee. She took one look at me and quietly excused herself. Logan? Marcus asked. Logan. I told him about the cafe, about the phone call, about sitting alone while my family celebrated without me. Marcus listened without interruption, occasionally shaking his head. How long has this been building? He asked when I finished. I thought about it, really thought about it. 2 years, maybe 3. Started when he graduated college and got that job at Pinnacle Financial. Suddenly, everything I did was old-fashioned or embarrassing. The way I dress, the way I talk to customers, the way I run the business my father started. And Megan. She's made it worse. She sees me as some kind of liability to Logan's image. Last month at his work party, she actually asked me not to mention that I own a car dealership. Said it sounded too blue-collar for his colleagues. Marcus poured coffee into 2 mugs. You know what your problem is, Paul. You keep giving and giving, hoping he'll remember who you used to be to him. but people don't appreciate what they don't earn. I thought about all the gifts over the years. The college tuition I'd paid in full so Logan could graduate debt-free. The down payment on his condo. The connections I'd made to help him get his job. The way I'd bitten my tongue every time Megan made one of her little comments about my rough edges. "Remember when he was 12?" I said. That New Year's Eve when the power went out at the cottage? Marcus smiled. "You built that fire and told ghost stories all night. He thought you were the greatest man alive. He said he wanted to be just like me when he grew up. Wanted to take over the dealership, carry on the family business." I laughed bitterly. Now he acts like I'm some kind of relic he has to manage. My phone rang. Cynthia, my ex-wife. I considered letting it go to voicemail, but Marcus nodded toward the phone. "Paul?" Cynthia's voice was careful, controlled. "Logan called me this morning. He told me about last night. Did he also tell you why he uninvited me?" "He said you two have been having some tension lately. Paul, I know this is hard, but maybe some space isn't the worst thing. You have been intense lately. About tradition, about the business, about Logan's choices. Intense." I repeated the word like it tasted bad. "I've been a father, Cynthia. I've been trying to maintain some connection with my son. By criticizing his girlfriend, by making comments about his career. Paul, he's 27 years old. He doesn't need your approval for everything anymore. Apparently, he doesn't need me at all." There was a long pause. "Don't do anything stupid, Paul. Whatever you're thinking about that car, because I know you bought him something expensive, you always do, just don't make this worse." After I hung up, I sat with Marcus in silence for a while. Finally, I pulled out my phone and showed him Tyler's message. "These kids want to buy the Lamborghini to burn it for their social media show." Marcus read the message twice. "And you're considering it. Logan doesn't want the car. He doesn't want me. Maybe it's time I stopped pretending otherwise. Paul, $60,000 for a car I paid $47,000 for. $13,000 profit on something that's just going to sit in my garage, unwanted." But it wasn't really about the money, and we both knew it. That afternoon, I went back to the dealership and pulled up Tyler Reed's social media profiles. 3 million followers across Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. His content was exactly what I'd expected. Expensive cars being driven off cliffs, luxury watches being put through blenders, designer clothes being set on fire. Every video had millions of views and thousands of comments from people cheering on the destruction. His latest post was a countdown. 48 hours until the biggest burn of 2024. We're torching something legendary for New Year's Eve. Stay tuned. I scrolled through the comments. Hundreds of people guessing what they were going to destroy. Getting excited about watching something expensive turn to ash. It was exactly the kind of mindless spectacle that Logan's generation seemed to worship. My phone buzzed with a notification. Logan had posted a photo on Instagram. Him and Megan at the cottage, arms around each other, both grinning at the camera. The caption read, "Finally, peace and quiet this NYE. Sometimes you have to cut loose the dead weight to find happiness. Hashtag New Year, New Me. Hashtag Good Vibes." Dead weight. I stared at that phrase for a long time. Then I picked up my phone and called Tyler Reed. "Mr. Harlan, I was hoping I'd hear from you." "I want to meet," I said. "Let's discuss terms." Tyler suggested we meet at Blackstone Bar downtown, a trendy place with exposed brick walls and craft cocktails that cost more than a decent meal. I arrived early and chose a table in the back, away from the crowd of 20-somethings, taking selfies with their drinks. Tyler and Jackson arrived 15 minutes late, both dressed like they were heading to a music festival. Tyler wore a vintage band t-shirt that probably cost more than most people's car payments, and Jackson carried a camera bag that looked expensive enough to fund a small business. "Mr. Harlan," Tyler said, sliding into the booth across from me. "I have to say, I'm surprised you changed your mind." People change their minds when circumstances change. Jackson set up a small camera on the table. "Do you mind if we record this? We like to document everything for behind-the-scenes content." I gestured for him to go ahead. "Let them record." I was starting to think documentation might work in my favor. "So what changed?" Tyler asked, signaling the waitress for drinks. "Yesterday you were all family tradition and precious gift. Today you're ready to sell?" "The person I bought it for decided he doesn't need it, or me." Tyler and Jackson exchanged glances. "Family drama. You could say that. The waitress brought Tyler a craft beer and Jackson something with too many ingredients. I stuck with bourbon. Neat. Look, Mr. Harlan, Tyler said, leaning forward. I want to be straight with you. This isn't just about buying your car. We want you to be part of the show. Part of it, how? You hand over the keys on camera. You tell people why you're doing it. You maybe even light the match. Tyler's eyes gleamed with the kind of excitement I'd seen in salesmen who just spotted a mark. Think about it. Successful businessman burns his own luxury car. That's not just content, that's a story. What kind of story? Jackson spoke up for the first time. The kind that gets people talking. The kind that trends on Twitter. The kind that makes you famous. Famous. I thought about Logan's Instagram post, about being called dead weight, about sitting alone in my house while my family celebrated without me. Where would this happen? We've got a permit for the old lot behind Morrison Park. New Year's Eve at midnight. We're expecting a crowd of maybe 200 people, plus however many watch the live stream. Could be millions. And it's completely legal? Totally legal. We've got all the permits, fire department approval, the works. This is a professional operation, Mr. Harlan. I finished my bourbon. What's your offer? $75,000, cash. I almost laughed. They'd gone up $15,000 from their original offer without me even negotiating. You really want this car? It's perfect for our brand, Tyler said. Rare, expensive, beautiful. And the fact that you're the original owner, that you're willing to destroy your own purchase, that's the kind of authenticity you can't fake. We shook hands on it, and Tyler immediately started talking about logistics. When to meet, where to sign the papers, how the event would be structured. But I was only half listening. I was thinking about Logan's face when he saw the news, when he realized what I'd done with his gift. One question, Jackson said as we were leaving. Why are you really doing this? I mean, the money's nice, but you don't seem like someone who needs 75 grand. I looked at this kid, probably the same age as my son, and decided to tell him the truth. Sometimes people need to see what they've thrown away. The next day, I drove to Tech Hub, electronics store in the mall, and bought a small digital camera with a long battery life. If I was going to do this, I wanted my own record of events. I also bought a USB drive and spent the afternoon backing up every text message, every email, every social media post related to the situation. Logan's Instagram post about dead weight, Megan's comments about my embarrassing presence, Tyler's messages offering money for the car, the group chat where Logan had told extended family not to expect me at the cottage this year. I labeled the USB drive NYE receipts and locked it in my office safe. That evening, I got a group text from Tyler. Tomorrow at midnight. Burnout or bust. Are you in, Mr. Harlan? I typed back, I'm in. Then I sat in my garage, looking at the Lamborghini one more time. Logan 27. In 36 hours, that license plate would be melting in front of a crowd of strangers, while my son watched from wherever he was, finally understanding what he'd lost. The morning of New Year's Eve, I met Tyler and Jackson at Premier Luxury Motors, a high-end dealership across town where we could handle the title transfer privately. I brought all the paperwork, perfectly organized in a manila folder. Original purchase agreement, title, registration, insurance documents, and a bill of sale I'd prepared the night before. Damn, Mr. Harlan, Jackson said, looking through the papers. You're more organized than my accountant. 30 years in business teaches you to document everything. Tyler counted out $75,000 in cash, mostly hundreds, while I signed the title over to him. I made sure to get photos of every document, every signature, every stack of bills. Legal, documented, and completely irreversible. So, what's the plan for tonight? I asked. We start streaming at 11:30, Tyler explained. Build up the crowd, get people hyped. You show up right before midnight, hand over the keys on camera, say whatever you want to say, and then we torch it. Boom. Viral content. What should I say? Whatever feels authentic. Talk about why you're doing this, what it means to you. People eat that emotional stuff up. I thought about Logan watching this unfold in real time, realizing that his New Year's gift was going up in flames because he'd decided I was too difficult to tolerate. Back at my dealership, Marcus found me in my office, staring at the cash Tyler had given me. "You actually did it," he said. "I did." "Paul, are you sure about this? Once that car burns, there's no taking it back. Logan's gonna see this. Everyone's gonna see this." "Good. Maybe it's time everyone saw who Logan really is." Marcus sat down across from my desk. What if he tries to make amends? What if he realizes he made a mistake and wants to fix things? I looked at my oldest friend and felt something cold and final settle in my chest. And then he should have thought of that before he decided I was dead weight. That afternoon, I drove out to Morrison Park to scout the location. The old lot was perfect for Tyler's purposes, isolated enough to be safe, but accessible enough for a crowd. I noticed the security cameras on the nearby buildings, the clear sightlines from the street, the way sound would carry in the cold night air. This wasn't going to be a quiet, private moment. This was going to be a spectacle. I stopped by the police station on my way home, not to report anything, but to drop off a copy of all the permits and legal documents to Detective Aisha Franklin, who handled most of the city's event coordination. "Just want to make sure everything's properly filed," I told her. "Unusual event," she said, looking through the paperwork, "but everything seems to be in order. You're really going to burn a $75,000 car? It's not worth $75,000 to me anymore." That evening, I got a text from Jackson. "Tyler wants you on camera when we torch it. You in?" I typed back, "Wouldn't miss it." Then I called Cynthia. "Paul, how are you holding up?" "I'm fine. I wanted you to know that I've made some decisions about the future." "What kind of decisions?" "The kind that can't be undone." "Cynthia, whatever you see on the news tonight, just remember that I tried. I tried to be the father Logan wanted, and when that didn't work, I tried to be the father he needed. But I'm done trying." "Paul, you're scaring me. What are you planning?" "I'm planning to stop being deadweight." I hung up before she could respond. At 10 p.m., I put on my best suit. Navy blue, perfectly tailored, the one I wore to important business meetings. If I was going to be on camera, if this was going to be my moment, I wanted to look like the successful businessman I was, not the embarrassing relic my son thought I'd become. I drove to Morrison Park with the windows down, letting the cold December air clear my head. In the distance, I could see lights and hear voices. Tyler's crowd was gathering. It was time. At 11:15 p.m., I sat in my car at the edge of Morrison Park, watching Tyler's crew set up their equipment. Portable lights illuminated the old lot like a movie set, and a crowd of young people milled around with their phones out, already recording. I could see Tyler in the center of it all, gesturing wildly as he spoke to his camera, building anticipation for what was coming. My phone buzzed with a call from Cynthia. "Paul, please don't do whatever you're planning. I can hear it in your voice. You're about to do something you can't take back." "You're right," I said. "I am. Think about Logan. Think about your relationship with him. Is it really worth destroying over one argument?" I watched a group of teenagers taking selfies in front of Tyler's equipment, all of them grinning with excitement about the expensive destruction they were about to witness. "Cynthia, when was the last time Logan called me just to talk? Not to ask for money, not to complain about something, just to check in with his father." She was quiet for a long moment. "I don't know. I do. March 15th, 2022, almost 2 years ago. He called to tell me about a promotion at work. We talked for 8 minutes. Paul, he's not a child anymore. He's a grown man who made a choice about what kind of relationship he wants with me. Tonight, I'm making my choice about what kind of father I want to be." I hung up and turned off my phone. At 11:30, Tyler's live stream went live. I could see the viewer count climbing on the screen he'd set up. 50,000, 75,000, 100,000 people watching and waiting. The chat was moving too fast to read, but I caught glimpses of comments. "Burn it down," and "This is insane," and "Where's the car?" Tyler was in his element, working the crowd like a carnival barker. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to witness the most expensive New Year's Eve celebration in internet history. In just a few minutes, we're going to meet the man who's making this all possible. A successful businessman who's decided that sometimes you have to destroy something beautiful to make a point. I got out of my car and walked toward the crowd. People noticed me immediately. The guy in the expensive suit, walking calmly through a crowd of kids in hoodies and designer sneakers. Tyler spotted me and waved me over. There he is! Mr. Paul Harlan, ladies and gentlemen, the man of the hour! The crowd parted as I walked to the center of the lot, where the Lamborghini sat under the bright lights like a sacrifice on an altar. Someone had positioned it perfectly for the cameras, and I could see at least a dozen phones recording my approach. Tyler handed me a wireless microphone. Mr. Harlan, tell everyone why you're here tonight. I looked at the camera, knowing that somewhere Logan was probably getting ready for bed, completely unaware that his life was about to change. I thought about him seeing this tomorrow or maybe tonight if someone called him. I thought about him realizing that the car burning on every news channel and social media platform was the gift I'd bought him, the one with his name on the license plate. I'm here, I said into the microphone, because my son told me I was too difficult. He told me not to come to our family New Year's Eve celebration because I was embarrassing. Dead weight, he called me. The crowd had gone quiet. Even the live stream chat seemed to slow down. This car was supposed to be his gift. I spent weeks finding it, had his name put on the license plate. But he doesn't want gifts from me anymore. He doesn't want me anymore. So I figured, why let it go to waste? Tyler was grinning like he'd won the lottery. This was better content than he'd ever imagined. I pulled the keys from my pocket and held them up for the cameras. Logan, if you're watching this, this was yours. But you made your choice. Now, I'm making mine. At exactly 11:58 p.m., I handed Tyler the keys to the Lamborghini Huracan. The crowd pressed closer, phones held high, everyone wanting to capture the moment. Tyler's livestream viewer count had climbed to over 300,000 people, and I could see local news vans pulling up at the edge of the park. This is it, people, Tyler shouted into his microphone. Mr. Paul Harlan is about to make internet history. I took the microphone from him and looked directly into the main camera. Somewhere out there, Logan was probably still at the cottage, probably still celebrating his peaceful New Year's Eve without his difficult father. My name is Paul Harlan, I said, my voice carrying clearly across the lot and into the phones of hundreds of thousands of viewers. I'm 58 years old, I've owned a successful business for 30 years, and I've spent the last 27 years trying to be the father my son needed. The crowd was completely silent now. Even Tyler had stopped his constant chatter. This car behind me is a 2024 Lamborghini Huracan. It cost me $47,000. The license plate says Logan 27. That's my son's name and age. I bought it as a New Year's Eve gift because I thought it would make him happy. I thought maybe it would remind him that his old man still cared about him. I turned to look at the car, its red paint gleaming under the lights. But yesterday, my son called me and told me not to come to our family celebration. He said I was too difficult, too embarrassing, too much trouble to deal with. He posted on social media about cutting loose the dead weight. That dead weight was me. When I turned back to the camera, I could see Tyler's expression had changed. This wasn't the fun, mindless destruction he'd planned. This was something rawer, more real. So Logan, if you're watching this, and I hope you are, I want you to understand something. This car was yours. This was your gift, your inheritance, your father's love made tangible. But you didn't want it. You didn't want me. I handed the microphone back to Tyler and walked to the car. Someone had already doused it with gasoline. I could smell the fumes in the cold air. Tyler's crew had positioned cameras at multiple angles, and I could see the red recording lights blinking like eyes in the darkness. Mr. Harlan, Tyler said, his voice uncertain for the first time all evening. Are you sure about this? Instead of answering, I picked up the torch they'd prepared and looked one more time at the license plate. Logan 27. In 30 seconds, it would be melting metal. I lit the car. The flames caught immediately, racing across the gasoline-soaked surface with a sound like tearing silk. The crowd gasped and cheered, phones capturing every second as $47,000 of automotive perfection began to burn. The heat hit my face like a physical blow, but I didn't step back. I stood there watching Logan's gift turn to smoke and ash. The fire was beautiful in its destruction, orange and yellow flames dancing against the black December sky. The custom leather interior caught fire first, Then the paint began to bubble and peel. The license plate started to warp, the letters of Logan's name bending and melting until they were unrecognizable. Tyler was back in showman mode, narrating the destruction for his audience, but his voice seemed to come from very far away. All I could hear was the roar of the flames and the sound of my phone buzzing in my pocket. I pulled it out. 17 missed calls from Logan. The phone rang again. I answered it. Dad, your name is on the news app. What the hell did you do? I looked at the burning car, at the crowd of strangers cheering and recording, at Tyler's camera capturing my face in the firelight. Logan's voice was panicked, desperate, completely different from the cold dismissal of 2 days ago. I did exactly what you wanted, son. I stopped being dead weight. Dad, what are you talking about? What car? Why are you on the news? Check the license plate in the video, Logan. Check the license plate and remember what you threw away. The flames were reaching toward the sky now, visible for miles. I could hear sirens in the distance. Not emergency vehicles, but news crews racing to cover the story. In a few hours, this would be on every morning show in the country. Successful businessman burns luxury car after son disinvites him from family celebration. Dad, please, I don't understand. I hung up and turned off my phone. The crowd was chanting my name now, caught up in the spectacle and drama of what they'd witnessed. Harlan! 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 Tyler was practically bouncing with excitement, already calculating the views and ad revenue this would generate. But I wasn't watching them anymore. I was watching the fire consume the last physical symbol of my relationship with my son. Watching 27 years of fatherhood turn to smoke and ash. The custom license plate was completely melted now, just a twisted piece of metal that bore no resemblance to Logan's name. I walked away from the flames, through the cheering crowd, past the news cameras that had arrived to capture the aftermath. Behind me, the Lamborghini burned like a funeral pyre, lighting up the New Year's sky with the glow of everything Logan had lost.